that could have got out of control, and, fires jump. And they could have had a real roaring fire in that area.
Well, the whole thing is
judgment.
The whole thing is very, very suspicious. It might have been some type of government operation, too, that this guy was tied into, and that they didn't want regular cops and media seeing what was really in there. I mean, this is a first. And to now have them come out and say, yes, we are watching all your credit card purchases and loyalty card purchases in real time. I mean, every time they do that, it's a felony. It's illegal, but they don't care. They just announce it now, Bob.
That's right. They don't care. And that's why I tell people, if you can, you only use credit cards for emergencies. Pay cash and try not to use them at all. I mean, I haven't had a credit card for 15 years.
Bob, what do you make of Glenn Beck this week admitting FEMA camps, admitting military planning to round us up? He's gone from saying we're liars and that we should have the military come after us as dangerous people to now many episodes literally channeling yours truly.
Well, I think probably they know that eventually Jesse's program on the camps is going to come out. And they're just preempting it. That's what I think they're up to. They want to get their piece of the meat first, and then when Jesse's is allowed to run, which will happen eventually, then they can say, well, we already talked about that. We told you all about that. And this just proves it.
Bob, let's look at the economy. Quantify it. What does it mean when they had the headlines a few days ago dealing with the record Treasury sell-off in the last 2 years? And then I saw separate articles talking about record numbers of investors and countries not buying Treasury offerings. What does that mean?
It means that if others will not buy treasuries, whether traded in the market or at auction, it means that the Federal Reserve has to buy them. And they can do that one of two ways. They can instruct banks to go in and use cash surplus to buy treasuries, which is synonymous with cash. Or they can create money out of thin air and do the same thing. Money out of thin air is monetization. So isn't the money that comes from the banks, because the money that was lent to the banks by the Fed in the first place. And I think they've been holding those balances in abeyance to use just for such an opportunity. And when they do that, they don't have to print more money because they already printed it.
Yeah, Bob, what does it signify when we see the headline, record Treasury sell-off? What does that mean?
It means foreigners, in all likelihood, are the sellers of treasuries. They can easily control the short end of the market, and that would be anything up to 2-year paper, 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, 1 year, 2 year. And then beyond that, what's called the long end of the market, they have more difficulty in controlling it. And right now, with all the selling going on, they're probably saying, well, it moved from 2.5% to 3.30%. We'll wait and see where it looks like it's going to stop for the time being, and then we'll drive the yield back down again, driving the bonds back up again. Some of these funds, we'll call them, that invest in that kind of security, and normally called paper, they're taking some pretty bad losses. I know I saw today that PIMCO got banged around pretty hard, and because when the yield goes up, the value of the bond goes down. And when the value of the bond goes down, that's not very good. And so, but anyway, they'll be back. They haven't gone away permanently, they being in the Fed, and they're going to drive those rates back down again if they can, and they probably can. They don't want that mortgage rate at 4.66% for 30-year fixed-rate mortgages. They want it down. I mean, people can't qualify at 4.16, never mind 4.66. if it goes any higher, the 10-year, and that's what the 30-year mortgage rate is based upon. If it goes higher, say another quarter of a point to 5%, it's going to leave an awful lot of possible buyers out of the market because they won't be able to qualify because of the higher price payments that they'll be into.
Okay, overall politically, though, am I right in saying that this is rumblings mainly connected to China and Russia saying that in their trade between each other, they are now dumping the dollar? I mean, how big of a move was that 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago when they made that announcement?
It's giant. It's a very big move. In the 10-year and 30-year paper, which is the most common in the long end, but also what Russia and China announced. And you can't blame them. I mean, who would want to continue to have to take currency like the U.S. dollar, which continues to decline in value overall? Who would want to keep that when they have too much already? So they don't want to use it. They want to use their own currencies, which, to me, I would say, why didn't they do that a long time ago? And I'm sure the other BRIC nations will do the same thing. They're trying to protect themselves. They're buying gold hand over fist. And the Russians, they make no bones about it. You know, we buy, the IMF sells, they buy. And, of course, I'm sure that the U.S. government's upset about it, but what are they supposed to do?
Do you think this grassroots...
this monster.
Do you think this grassroots movement that started, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago on the internet that Kaiser's been beating the drum on the last month, do you think that's having any effect on driving up silver past $30?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, we discussed this last week, and I think it was so simple that nobody thought about it except Max. And I think that was terrific. And yes, he's putting a lot of pressure on the physical end of the market. And they're not going to be able to hold it back. They're in there now, last few days, knocking silver and gold down. That's okay.
Bob?
We just buy some cheaper, and it's going to go back up again.
Which it is.
Because they don't have enough power to keep it down because they can't sell physical. They don't have any silver at all.
Well, that's my next question. Yeah, in your 50 years of tracking this, I've just been watching it for 15 or so, but am I correct from your research in saying that I'm calling local coin shops. I'm talking to people around the country. Either they're sold out or there's huge premiums from their wholesalers, so they've got to charge a lot more to their customers. And the gap between what spot silver and gold is getting wider and wider between reality, what silver and gold are actually selling for in reality. And as that gap gets wider and wider, it's going to pull the false spot number towards the real number inexorably.
Absolutely. It was just a piece of deft magic. And yes, as we discussed last week, you know, losing $5 or $10 billion is not going to put those two banks out of business. But what it shows is, and you said this yourself, we are bringing the fight to the enemy. And they have not had that happen before. And I absolutely love it.
Well, they are starting to get horrified. But more of it is just that the average person out there who's even in the media or government was living in the same propaganda as the general public, and folks are, especially people in power positions, are starting to realize that there really is a world government, that it really is sadistic, that it really is villainous and verminous and larcenous and dangerous. And it's so over the top with Big Sis announcing that they want to have and are going to put in 800 Walmarts and Mall of America and Target and everywhere else telescreens with government messages about spying on other shoppers and your neighbors. And now foreign ambassadors won't come here because they're having their genitals grabbed at airports. I mean, they've tried to push this insanity on us by just operating like it's normal and no big deal. And they had people in a trance, but now they've gone too fast, and it's making people wake up. And they're getting angry. And sure, the general public doesn't have all the answers, but they're beginning to seek after them. And what Zbigniew Brzezinski said 6 months ago is really starting to be proven true.
You're absolutely right. And so isn't he. He started this information to his friends about 2 years ago. And we talked about it on the program. And they're terrified. No one's ever brought the battle to them before, whether it was in 1348 or 1620. This is it. We've got the internet, we got talk radio, and we tell the people the truth, and they can't handle the truth. And so they have problems. And when they have to expedite programs, it makes them make mistakes. And the more mistakes they make, the more possibility is more people are going to wake up, and their programs are not going to work because they're going to get neutralized. And that's what you're doing on the radio with your program. You're killing them, absolutely killing them verbally.
Well, that's why they want to provocateur events like the WikiLeaks as a pretext to start cracking down on the press. And they've got bills introduced. We've been covering them. There's new ones here in the stack where if you report on any type of leak, which has always been the bedrock of the First Amendment, that you're going to get hard prison time. The system is desperate to clamp down because they've tried to make all their crimes secret. We have a right to know. This claim of national security, it's a fraud. Real national security is having a transparent government. The real threat is having a secret government. We know what those always turn into.
And you know what? It could be a big turning point is Bernie Sanders and Ron Paul, we'll call them the odd couple politically, and Ron is going to run the subcommittee. Mr. Baucus has said that he's going to appoint him, as you well know. And I wonder if what we did last week and up until yesterday had any real effect on the decision to allow Ron to have that post.
Well, we know if we roll over and don't fight, they're going to win. And we know that when we do fight, that we've got a good chance of winning. And quitters never win and winners never quit, Bob.
Well, Mr. Bona, his phones, and I get this straight from subscribers that came back to me after they had heard your program, they got on there right away. And the average wait was 45 minutes to an hour to reach a human being. But what they did is on Monday, they, because of the jamming of the lines of phones coming in, calls coming in, they put it on answering service, and so that they wouldn't have to, answer the phone.
But we told Boner. But, we told Boner here on air, a congressman, he says his name's Boehner. We just quote his real name, Boner, the minion of the globalist Newt Gingrich. He's a protege of him. We told him, look, the Tea Party is, and the real Tea Party is going to come to your home office, in his home district there, and we're going to go to all your events, and you're going to be politically destroyed. And I think he understands that. But again, it shows the power of us peacefully, with peaceful political discourse, are beginning to shut these people down, and they are horrified. In the last minute and a half we've got left, Bob Chapman of internationalforecaster.com, how do you see them striking back to try to counter us?
I think their main instrument right now is Homeland Security and the things that they're doing, along with the Psy-War program that they've got going on the TSA. They're not going to let up on that, and that's obvious. And I think the next thing is after the holidays, when people don't normally travel too much, I think a lot of people won't travel by air at all, and you'll probably watch a drop of 1/3 to perhaps even 50% less travelers going into the air and going through that maddening experience.
What about false flag terror? I talked to Governor Ventura on Monday, and he just said, Alex, in my gut, I can see him staging something. People are waking up too fast.
Well, he's right about waking up too fast, and so, of course, he's an integral part of that. And if he is nothing else, he's a warrior. And they don't want to go head-to-head with warriors. They're Mr. Milquetoast. And so the efforts that we see by